Great start. Just making sure I have my mic muted. Wait, am I by myself? Oh wait, no, it's me and the other greatsword user. Really? Want to challenge me? Clutched the slinger sniper. Oh, that's why the sound sounded so weird. It was really low. I was like, why does everything sound muffled? It's just what everything sounds like when they're low on this TV. You motherfuckers gotta stop climbing up and down the goddamn ledges. Fuck off, mate. Oh, fuck me. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police. Screw, screw. Goop, goop. I got eyelash in my eye. Could you guys be any slower? Whatever. I'm not waiting all day. Give me 1 second. I need to go check what's in my eye. Yeah, it was one of my eyelashes, just like at the end, just like slightly curled into my eye. It's like, that's great. Thanks, fucking evolution. A chunting investigation. Wow, thanks guys. Nice. Cluster bomb. Excuse me. No more Ritz crackers. No more Ritz crackers. That's a gap in my teeth making that sound. That's why it sounds so much like a musical instrument. Just to prove it was my lips. I don't know why I had to prove it. Internally, I had to prove it to myself it was my face. I make noise. Good. Good noise. You are good noise maker. You make good noise. I expect to hear a good noise from you. Porque? Russian Spanish? I am Russian Spanish. Russian Spanish. Spanish. Spanish, you know. Oh. That's an empty box. Good job. I got this caramel. Caramel. Y'all ready for it? Oh yeah, this smells. Smells like I want to get some alcohol now. I want to get some Baileys after smelling this. It's the exact same type of caramel they use in Baileys. Spagooter. Dang it. What is wrong with that moron? Oh my god, it keeps literally attacking faster than my recovery can block after. Multiplayer artificial difficulty right there for you. Just make the attacks faster than you can possibly recover with certain weapons. That's how you make them take damage. Let's just make gun lance shelling types absolutely fucking useless. Let's add a shelling type that's wide and hits wide and is supposed to do a lot of part damage, but because we inflated the parts so high, it doesn't do any damage. Because that's how people over there laugh when they come up with something as genius as that. It's not like they would make it so that you can shorten your recovery time by pressing the guard button on a weapon that has a shield. No, the only way you can shorten your recovery time is by doing the thing that makes you evade. Because that's how we build shield weapons in fucking Monster Hunter. Fuck gun lance. Screw the people who thought that it was smart to design a weapon with a shield that recovers faster by dodging instead of guarding. Oh yeah, it's certainly an iron wall weapon. Press an attack button and then all of a sudden it's not. You make every animation have a 14 like frame long recovery. I honestly don't get how people use the gun lance on a regular basis. I always just use it as a gimmick weapon because that's what it is to me. I give the hunting horn more credit because at least it's consistent. Gun lance is, do you want to go through sharpness all the time? Yes. Do you want to have that sharpness affect how much damage you can do with both your weapon and your thing? Yes. Do you want to make it so that every single animation you do puts you out of guarding? Yes. Do you want to make it so that your dodge doesn't go anywhere? Yes. Then use the gun lance today. Do you want to deal subpar explosion damage on every single shot, even when you're built perfectly for your build? Yeah. Do you want to use charged shelling, but instead have it just be worse than just smacking the enemy with any other weapon in the game? Yeah. Like, that's gun lance in a fucking nutshell. I like how people were like, oh yeah, 250 damage in a burst. That's so much damage. You have to, like, ignore greatsword when you're talking numbers. Because, again, in the same amount of time it takes a gun lance to do that, you could have done, like, 1,000+ damage with the greatsword. And that's even if you're just doing the tackles and you're not actually dropping the attacks on the ground. If you're dropping the greatsword attacks on the ground and you crit on every other hit, it'll be worth way more. Because again, gun lance shelling also can't crit, so that's another thing. Do you want a weapon that also doesn't crit? Like, the criteria list for all the negative things do not outweigh anything positive about any of the gun lances at all. No matter how hard I try to like one of them things. Yeah, let's try another shitty gun lance, and then quit using it halfway through the mission because it's terrible. Do you want to have a gap closing attack that only gets you about halfway there and then you have to stop doing stuff to then do it again? Do you want the gimmick of ignoring armor, but at the cost of having almost every other negative side effect of every other weapon combined into one weapon? Again, I'm on the side that thinks that they should just throw the shield into the dumpster and just turn the gun lance into a fucking ram type weapon. Make it more melee focused and make the shellings part of the normal combos instead of the fucking, you either shelling or you thrust or you do like either or you use it to reset your thrust combos, but why are you using thrust combos, you pleb? You should just be using your normal rotation. you're using thrust combos on a gun lance, you might as well just be using a normal lance. Because what the fuck is the point? It's called a gun lance, not a lance with a gun attached to it. Hold on. Cool. We got the best possible RNG on that. Can you use the item when I click on it? And you can clearly see that I clicked on it because the HUD even made a click noise and it still didn't use it. And people tell me this game isn't clunky. And no, I'm not using the flick thing, I'm using the click. The click to use. Oh yeah, and did I mention that certain types of gun lance shelling are better at doing certain things at one another, to the point of actually being a damage deficit in some regards? Like on the wide gun lance, you actually suffer a damage penalty to your shelling if you burst fire the wide shelling. It's a more genius design to just punish the player for using a different type of weapon, even though it does absolutely nothing to the game balance. It's not like a wide gun lance was all of a sudden gonna be better because it didn't have the 10% damage down or whatever the fuck it is. Like, I sometimes think they just randomly are just like, yeah, that's just a mechanic cuz we can. Like, they don't even rationally think about it in the scope of things. They just do. It's not like you get 4 or 5 wide shelling shots. You get 3 at most. So there's no possible way, even without the damage down, that it would ever be comparable. It's just stupid. At least with a long gun lance, you can hit 200 in a burst fire if you decide to burst fire it, but no, like I said earlier, you have to build it for doing stupid charging. And then if you try and charge your normal gun lance shots like that, you're just wasting your fucking time. You just mash the same combo over and over and over again and don't use anything else because there's no point. And then again, you're not using your shield despite the fact your character holds their shield in front of their body for like 90% of the animations. Nah, you can't block. It doesn't matter if you're holding R2. Even this animation where you're charging with the shield, no, you don't. That doesn't count as blocking. You will get hit out of it. Because your character is pressing a trigger, it requires all of his strength in the world to press and hold that trigger down. So he loses every ability to hold the shield up. Like, I literally want to hear their explanation for it. And again, remember the thing I was talking about, how if you want to go through sharpness all the time and have to be sharpening non-stop, gun lance is the weapon for you. I'm not hitting those burst fires because, again, gun lance is such a great weapon. Oh yeah, white sharpness. bounces on this guy unless his armor is heated up with a torch pod. I was trying to shelling him because shelling does do fire damage if I remember correctly. So it does heat up his armor if you can hit him with it. But normal shelling has like such a microscopic range in front of your character that good luck hitting them half of the time. The one attack that doesn't have Mind's Eye in the combo is the one attack you need to enter the fucking combo in the first place. It's like, were they literally trying to drive any normal person insane with this weapon? There's just no rationality behind anything that has to do with its design. It's just a bunch of random different fucking concepts thrown together in a weapon that just doesn't feel good to use. By the way, if you weren't aware, the food skill that I got from the canteen called Feline Bombardier actually makes my shelling stronger than normal. So you're actually seeing one that's artificially inflated. And it's still doing that low of damage, because if you don't have your entire fucking build focused around it, it does garbage. It does garbage for part damage, because it's not a wide or a long shelling gun lance. And it has garbage for range, so you're gonna miss half of your burst fires, even if you're directly next to the freaking monster when you do it. You're either too far inside of them, or you're slightly too far away due to the weird hitboxes that everything has that has to do with the player. Not the monster, just the player. Now I can't hit it in the head. Even though I have light sharpness. I love how a tiny little fire pit, if you place down a tiny little mound of fire on the ground, oh yeah, that heats up his armor. But living in a fucking volcano doesn't. again, no logic with anything that they do at all. They just throw mechanics in because it's cool and the guy could design it. Oh, that's gonna wake him up. Oh well. It's not like it matters. What? Everyone is just staring there looking at it like me. I'm not wasting bombs on this. What do they want me to blow it up? I'll just waste a cool drink real quick. Again, if you want to play a defensive weapon and you want it to be offensive, just play the normal lance. The only reason you play this if you want agonizingly slow combat where you occasionally shoot a gun that you can literally cough and send the virus particles from your spit into someone else's face farther than the fucking gun lance can shoot its damn shelling. I don't know why I keep using the gun lance if I hate it so much. I've like Stockholm syndrome with the weapon. Every single time I pick it up I expect it to be different, but it never is. And I'm just like... I really wish they just would change the fact that pressing the X button puts you out of an attack animation faster than pressing the R2 button. If that small bit was changed, the weapon would go from being, I'm smacking an enemy and I can occasionally use my shield, to, I'm smacking an enemy and I can choose when to use my shield. You have you have like no power over your character's animations, which... Like, I can understand them wanting you to be deliberate, but it's gotten to the point where some of these animations are so overly played, and your character just excessively sits there doing fuck all during the animation. Like, the gun lance drop attack, like when he does the drop, he sits there, and if you go to do a quick reload after you do the slam, he'll take an extra, like, almost a full second just to pick the gun lance back up all lazily and do the quick reload animation. But if you do a poke and then do it, he's just like whoop, and does it really fast. Like, what the fuck? I beg for any animation consistency with this fucking thing. Literally. Any amount of it. Just, if it was slow all the time, then I could deal with that. But if it's like half of the animations get a fast version, some get a slow version, some get a slightly faster version. Like the guard thrust, I believe, gets the fastest recovery from, or the mid-angle, I guess you would call it. Because it's also based on an angle, everything except for the slam and then the wide slash. Which doesn't make any sense, because why can't I shoot angled burst fire? Like, I understand the character would still get blown backwards, but if he can hold the entire gun lance vertically and shoot a charge shot, then he can shoot a burst out of it too. Is it? Give me a minute or two. I'm just gonna go out for a couple drags off for a cigarette. Till the door frame breaks. I've just found it, like, really weird how a lot of the other weapons have things that work with them, whereas the gun lance, I just feel like everything about the weapon works against the way that you would want to use it. You're going to use it pretty much 3 or 4 ways endgame, with arguably 2 ways being the only viable way to do it. One being burst fire all the time, so doing exactly what I was just doing there, but just doing that non-stop, because that's all you're going to be doing. Doing anything else is just not as damage efficient. And, I mean, everything isn't about damage efficiency, but, like, the damage difference over time is astronomical. And this is why I was saying the other builds can still kill things, but I wouldn't consider them viable in the same way I would consider the Devil Joe Sword and Shield viable. It's just not even in the same realm. And yes, you can do a fast gun lance kill with a normal gun lance shelling. I understand that. But that is like the literal definition of brute forcing it. Either that or they're using evasion mantle. And they're just, again, defeating the purpose of there even being a freaking shield there in the first place. Wouldn't it be cool if it had a thing where if you guarded upon guard reaction, you could fire a shelling? It has nothing you can do upon guard reaction except stand there. I'm not saying every weapon needs something you do upon guard reaction. The sword and shield doesn't, but you're also not focusing on guarding a lot of the time. It's just an emergency thing. Whereas having a big shield tied to your right arm, it sort of makes it a big part of what your weapon is. And when you're not using that, what the hell is the point? It's like walking around with a giant set of armor on, except for you have a square cut in your chest. Like, all of the other armor doesn't matter because you have the open hole to your skin at your chest. And I can just stab right through. That is basically the equivalent of the gun lance's defense. The only time you're defensive is when you can put both your arms across it. But anytime you have to move your arms, all of a sudden, that spot is exposed. Even the charge blade has more defensive capabilities than the gun lance. It has animations which has guarding in it. Because your character is holding the shield in front of himself. So logically, they thought to make it block, unlike the gun lance, where no matter, even if the animation direct, like on wide slash, if you do the wide slash after the slam, your character puts the shield directly in front of them. And it looks like they're guarding, but they're not. You just get smacked out of it. If they want the lance to still have guarding type capabilities, instead of having it have a shield, why not have it have a thing like the heavy bowgun does in this game, where it just has a shield mounted around it? Or the guard on the handle counts as a shield, or whatever you want to do. And then the whole just stand still and press R2 thing would actually make a little bit more sense. Like the greatsword.